Welcome to the Will and Aaron Show with William Kramer, my co-host Aaron Bontrager. We cover local sports including the NIC and NLC conferences, plus teams in St. Joseph and Elkhart counties. We also cover college and pro sports. Today we will recap high school football week 6 and preview week 7, discuss big things happening in the college football world, and talk about the NFL and Major League Baseball. So our first topic, recapping high school football week 6. And Aaron, we had a lot of good games over the weekend. Let's start off with Angola and Marion. I did not see this coming. I got this pick wrong. I had Marion winning in overtime. But Angola shuts out Marion 28-0. Angola is a rising program under Andy Thomas. The game was scoreless until a 12-yard touchdown pass by quarterback Tyler Call in the second quarter. The Hornets added a 9-yard touchdown run by Call in the third quarter. A Marion fumble led to another Angola touchdown in the third. Angola is now 5-2 on the season, while Marion drops to 2-5. New Prairie and South Bend Riley. This was Channel 46 game of the week, and Riley actually opened up the game with a touchdown. However, New Prairie would score the next 4 touchdowns in the first quarter to take complete control of this game. Senior running back Noah Mungia ran for 175 yards, including 2 touchdown runs.
All right, we look at the NLC games. Warsaw bounced back, took care of business 36-0 against Wawasee. Warsaw keeps the W trophy behind running back Flores Ortega, who had 96 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. All the scores came in the first half. Wawasee did, however, catch Warsaw off guard with doing an onside kick to open the game. They kind of pooch kicked it. And they pounced on the ball near midfield, but the drive ended on a missed field goal. And after that, it was pretty much all Warsaw. They were able to keep Wawasee out of the end zone. The Tiger defense came up with big sacks on third down, just when the Warriors were gaining momentum. So Tigers bounced back after 2 tough weeks, and they won with their physical and methodical style. Next game, kind of a war of attrition. Goshen beat Plymouth 7-6. The Redhawks come back to beat the Rockies in this one. Sophomore Elliott Fry, actually a kid who went to Northridge, I guess he transferred in, was named the starting quarterback on Thursday after, as we talked about, Quinn Bechtel was out with a collarbone injury. And then their backup, Gage Worthman, had an emergency appendix surgery. So he was named starter Thursday. He came in and threw the game-winning touchdown pass to senior Noah Alford with 1 minute, just over a minute left in the fourth. It's actually on a 4th and goal play as well. So this game came down to the end, and then they would make their extra point. Senior kicker Andy Martinez would give them the lead. But Plymouth did make a furious drive there after that. But the Goshen defense, led by Junior Hampton Rivera, he stripped the ball from a Rocky player, and Junior laced out while they recovered the ball just as they were entering the red zone. So a good win for Goshen. Shout out to them for hanging tough after just a season marred with injuries. Next up, we have Northridge, who won 29-28 against Concord. The Raiders would overcome a poor offensive first half to beat the Minutemen. According to the Goshen News, Coach Epley called out his team at half and let them know they weren't playing up to their potential. Concord's defensive front gave no time for quarterback Carrington to get going, and they slowed down McCain Miller in the rush attack in the first half. Concord capitalized on this with 2 field goals by Miguel Aguilar and a Titus Hackworth 1-yard touchdown, all in the first quarter. Both teams would go scoreless in the second quarter. The second quarter only saw 2 field goals, one by each team. The second half was a totally different story as the Raiders used an 80-yard opening second half drive to get their first touchdown and really change momentum in this one when Carrington found Cade Signs for a 37-yard strike. Concord would stop a 4th and 1 on Northridge's own 20 in the quarter as well, but then Concord gave it right back with the interception in the end zone, picked off by Tyrese Thomas. The Raiders would capitalize on a 65-yard game-time touchdown from Carrington to Alex Eby with just a minute left in the third quarter. So kind of a historic night for Cade Carrington. He had a big night with 347 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. His performance would help him break Northridge's single-season completion and passing yards records. And he's also now the sole leader in passing yards for a season. So then the big game of the week was Northwood and Mishawaka. Northwood pulled it out 14-6. I had the pleasure of seeing some of this game at Steel Stadium. What a fun atmosphere. Both schools showed up. Northwood's defense showed up huge in this one. The defense was led by Kanye King and CJ Kuhn, who caused and recovered a caveman fumble. And J.J. Payne had a big interception in the second half as well, which kind of sealed the win. This came after Mishawaka controlled the time possession and yards from scrimmage all night, especially in the second half. However, the Cavemen couldn't finish off drives, how the night went for them. Really, all the scoring was in the first half. The Panthers used an opening drive, touchdown, and a special team score to get the win and likely secured their outright conference championship. The opening drive, Owen Rader found junior running back Trey Woods on a 45-yard touchdown pass within the first 90 seconds of the game. Mishawaka would respond with a drive that ended in a Novell Miller 2-yard run. You could kind of feel the momentum swing in the stadium. It felt Northwood was pretty loud, and then Mishawaka answered, but the ensuing kickoff, Trey Woods striked again with taking it 75 yards to the house. And that was kind of another big momentum swing back to Northwood. The Goshen News also had an interesting storyline about how Trey Woods grew up in Mishawaka and now he's playing for the Panthers. So what a game. Credit to Northwood for getting a big win. This team looks poised for a run in the postseason, and they beat a really good team in Mishawaka who looks poised as well to do the same.
You know, Aaron, we talked last week about how the Northridge Concord game was going to be a solid game. Both those teams are very tough, getting better as the season goes along in the NLC conference. So that was quite a fun game to watch if you were there. And then Northwood and Mishawaka, maybe the game of the year for this area. I know some might argue that the Penn Elkhart game was pretty good too, but this game did not disappoint, and I wish I was there to see it. But I heard that it was a great environment for high school football. How fun it is for this area to have a game like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great game. Sure, people will be talking about it for a while. But then let's go ahead and switch over to previewing Week 7. Will, can you believe it's Week 7 already? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's gone really quick.
Yeah. We'll start off with Wawasee visiting Northwood. Wawasee is now 1-6, 1-4 in conference. Northwood, of course, is undefeated, 7-0, 5-0 in conference. I don't really see a letdown in this one from Northwood perspective. I think they'll be able to take care of business against a younger Wawasee squad. Northwood is dangerous in all 3 phases of the game. They've showed that in every game really this year. And it looks like they have like a new offensive weapon show out each week. This past week was Trey Woods, and then they just got so many weapons, and their defense is holding teams out of the end zone. I can't pick against this team again. I'm going to go with the Panthers. Moving on to Goshen, who is now 2-5, 2-3 in the conference, visiting Warsaw, who's now 5-2, 3-2 in the conference. Warsaw is just too deep and talented for a banged-up Redhawks team. I think Warsaw takes care of the ball, and if they don't underestimate the grit of Goshen, they'll get a pretty nice win here. Takes a lot of depth to hold up against a Tiger triple option, and Goshen is just too banged up at this point. So Warsaw gets another win. Then the next game, Northridge, 4-3, 3-2 in conference now, is traveling to Plymouth, who has not won yet this year. The Raiders have won 3 in a row after playing 3 of the better teams in the area. They have overcome slow starts. They continue to have quite the success through the air. I like Northridge to get a road win and continue their win streak to 4 in a row. And another great game, probably the best game on paper as far as Week 8 NLC. We have Mishawaka 6-1, who's now 4-1 in conference, visiting Concord, who is 3-4 and 2-3 in the conference. You can see this one being a close game. Concord won the regular season matchup last year, but Mishawaka won the sectional rematch, or the rematch in the sectional, I guess is how you would say it. So a possible preview of this year's Section 11 final. I think it'll be tough to play Mishawaka after a tough loss. They had some chances to beat Northwood, but couldn't complete long drives into scoring drives. Yeah, I also think Concord will be ready to go after maybe letting a win go in Middlebury after that great first half they had. Concord has improved each week on offense. They have scored an average of 27 points the past 3 games. If Concord can play balanced football on offense, they could pose some challenges to the K-Man defense. And I think that has to start with establishing the run, staying out of third and long situations. If they can do that, they can hang. But I think the Cavemen, they have the advantage up front. So I think they'll be able to control the line of scrimmage again. The key will be, can they finish off drives? I think they can and will do that in this one. So I like Mishawaka to bounce back in this game.
So we're going to find out how much Concord Minutemen has improved. If you look at their Northwood game in Week 3, where they lost 41-13. Since then, yes, they lost to Warsaw 19-0, but since then, they've been on some sort of a roll and showed a great showing against Northridge. So we'll see what Concord's made of, and also how Coach Kinder and Mishawaka squad, their resolve after their first loss of the season. So that should be looking forward to that one. So as you know, if you are listening, Aaron and I do high school weekly picks. So I just want to update you on our record. Aaron is now 20 wins to 3 losses. I am 21 wins to 4 losses. So hopefully we can keep that winning column going higher and higher in the next 2 weeks, Aaron.
It'd be interesting to see if we can keep it up.
So let's focus on the NIC here. We have our first game with 3A, number 17th ranked Jimtown. Jimmy is there 5-2 overall, and they play at TCU School Field against Stoppin Adams, who is 1-6 overall. Now the Jimmies lost their first 2 games to Northwood and Concord. Since those 2 losses, the Jimtown has won 5 in a row. Now, those 2 losses are looking better as the season moves on, as both Northwood and Concord proving to be pretty strong teams. Adams, their win, I should say, is against Riley. That was in overtime. They played a tough schedule, including Northridge, Elkhart, New Prairie. Jimtown, we all know, wants to run the ball. Adams, more balance on offense. Now, I think, Aaron, the Eagles could pose a challenge to Jimtown's secondary, and that might worry the Jimtown votes a bit. I don't think Adams will be able to run the ball with consistent success, but I do think they could win those one-on-one battles on the edges and in space. The question will be, can the offensive line provide enough time for their quarterback to throw the ball to the wide receivers? Jimtown forced Washington to 4 turnovers last week, and the Jimmy defense will look to do the same this week to win the turnover battle and provide the offense a few extra possessions. Adams' front seven needs to limit the Jimtown rushing attack. So far, Jimtown has outscored the Southland Schools 104-6. This game will be more competitive, and I think it's going to be closer than the two previous games with Southland Schools. I have Jimtown controlling the time of possession, running the ball, making enough plays on defense, and I think the Jimmies win their 6th game of the season. The next game, South Bend Riley 4-3 at Bremen 3-3. These two teams have had ups and downs throughout their season. Riley's best win was in week 1 against Gary West. They played tough at times against New Prairie last week. Bremen has been up and down. Silas Legg has missed time recently due to an injury. I have not heard if he is back or not. Moser needs to be a big impact for the rushing attack for Bremen. To me, it depends on what Bremen team shows up. If they play their A game, I give them the slight edge. However, Riley is playing better of late. I tell you what, Aaron, Riley putting 21 points on the board against New Prairie is impressive, more impressive than Bremen winning 38-6 against Prairie Heights. I'm going to pick Riley in a close game. It just feels like the Wildcats are playing better football than what Bremen is. The next game is 4A, number 5, New Prairie, 7-0. Goes on the road, face 6A, number 11, Penn, who's 5-2. The baseball playoffs are right around the corner, and if this New Prairie Penn series were a baseball series, the pivotal Game 5 is this Friday, as both the Cougars and the Kingsmen have split the past 4 years. Penn looks like they are improving as a program and inching closer to becoming the Penn we all know them to be, which is one of the elite teams in Indiana. New Prairie has become a solid program of late, winning consistently. This is an interesting matchup. New Prairie will need to play mistake-free football to win this game, as I believe Penn has the upper hand. I think New Prairie can keep this close in the first half, but I have Penn pulling away late for the big NIC win. The last game that we're going to talk about is 1A, number 3, North Judson, 7-0 at Class 2A, number 3, LaVille, 7-0. Aaron, this is a huge game. North Judson has beaten LaVille the past 2 years, which is impressive considering how good LaVille has been of late. The Blue Jays rely on the running of Barack Benson and Cheyenne Allen. Of course, Lucas Plummer and Paul DeWitt have been stars for LaVille all season long and will need to play well if they want to beat North Judson. LaVille has played the tougher schedule between the two teams. I think this is the year they beat North Judson and remain unbeaten. So I'm going to choose LaVille Lancers over North Judson.
Nice, the Lancers.
Yeah, making some big headlines this year, some big wins. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will talk about college football.
You can listen to the Will and Aaron Show podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube and like our videos. Follow us on Twitter at Will Aaron Show. You can follow the Will and Aaron Show Facebook page where you can interact by commenting, liking, sharing, and reviewing our podcast.
Welcome back to the Will and Aaron Show, where we talk about local, college, and pro sports. We're going to talk about our third topic of this episode with college football headlines. First off, Purdue and Minnesota. We talked about on our last podcast how Purdue, even though their record doesn't show it, is a scary team. And Aaron, they showed it last Saturday by upsetting Minnesota 20-10. Now Purdue overcame 3 turnovers by forcing 3 turnovers themselves. The Boilermakers jumped out to a 10-0 lead in the first quarter. Minnesota did tie it up in the third. It was the fourth quarter where all the exciting action for the Purdue came when Devin mocked OB, ran 68 yards to set up the go-ahead touchdown for Purdue. Nebraska 35, Indiana 21. The game was tied at 21 in the fourth quarter when a 71-yard touchdown reception by Nebraska put the Cornhuskers up for good. Indiana went 3-out on the Nuts series, and Nebraska went on a 12-play drive capped by a 1-yard quarterback keeper to put the game out of reach. Indiana was right there and had opportunities to win this game, but just were not able to make the plays when they needed to.
Kind of glad I fell asleep because that would have been tough way to end the night. watching them lose this one.
Well, we've seen this story over and over if you're an IU fan. Keep it close, play tough, but just can't pull it out in the end. Let's look at some notable scores throughout the college football league. The first one, UCLA 40 upsets ranked 15th ranked Washington 32. Dorian Thompson-Robinson leads the Bruins with 315 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, outdueling former Hoosier quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Big win for the Bruins.
TCU 55 against number 18 Oklahoma, scored 24. 2 words, Max Dugan in this game. The TCU quarterback had a total of 5 touchdowns. TCU was up 41-17 at half. The Horned Frogs outgained the Sooners 668 to 355 yards.
That surprised me, Aaron, especially with Oklahoma's new coach being a defensive guru. Things seems to be unraveling for the Sooners right now. We're gonna see they got Texas next week, so that's a huge game for Oklahoma. Number 14, Mississippi upsets 7th-ranked Kentucky 22-19. You know, the whole week everybody was talking about the Ole Miss running backs and their rushing attack proved to be the difference in this game. Now Kentucky's quarterback Will Levis, he did everything he could do to keep Kentucky close, but it was a Wildcat defense that just couldn't get the big stop when they needed to.
And next we have Mississippi State upsetting number 17 Texas A&M 42-24. The Bulldogs forced 4 Aggie turnovers to get a huge upset win, 3 of which occurred in the red zone. Mississippi State got another big game from quarterback Will Rogers, who had 329 yards passing and 3 touchdowns.
You know, if there's one fan base that should be growing impatient, it's the Texas A&M Aggies fans. They have the resources, the money, the facilities. Jimbo Fisher, I should say, is a proven coach, and they keep losing these games. I just don't understand it, Aaron. Eventually, something's gonna have to turn around for the Aggies down there.
Yeah, it's something to keep our eye on. It's kind of surprising. I think, they've had some good recruiting classes too. So.
Yeah, the top 5 recruiting classes in recent years. So they're getting the stars, 5-star, 4-star guys, but the results are not showing in the win column here. The last couple of weeks, we've been doing college picks. Our record so far is 4-3 for Aaron. I had a terrible week last week, so my record drops to 3-5. I'm gonna have to bounce back this week, Aaron. Let's look at some of the big games for this upcoming Saturday. 12 o'clock on CBS, 5-0 Michigan, who is a 21-point favorite, goes on the road to Indiana, where they are 3-2. Michigan is playing really good football. IU last beat Michigan in 2018 in Bloomington. However, the Maize and Blue are going to get the easy win here. I don't think it's going to be close. Michigan wins.
Then at noon, ESPN game 4-0 Tennessee at 4-1 LSU. Tennessee is coming off a bye, and LSU is coming off a solid road win against Auburn. They open as the early favorites. Coach Brian Kelly feels his team has been in better conditioning than their opponents so far. That's going to be tested against Tennessee's fast tempo, high octane offense. It's one of the fastest in the nation. I think I'm going to go with Tennessee in this one. They have looked better against better competition thus far.
That's going to be a great game to watch, Aaron. A huge SEC game there. Also at noon on FS1, you have 4-0 TCU, who is a 5-point favorite at 5-0 Kansas. Okay, we're talking about their football team here, undefeated. TCU is 9-1 against Kansas the past 10 games. And the last time they lost to the Jayhawks was in 2018. Now, Kansas has more quality wins than TCU does. However, the way TCU beat Oklahoma last week was impressive. Kansas won't be able to sneak up on teams anymore with their blazing start to the season. I think they've gotten their opponent's attention by now. You have to wonder if Kansas might start looking to the following week with their big game against Oklahoma to see if they can find a way to keep their attention, concentration on the TCU Horned Frogs. TCU will be ready and up for this game. I'm going to pick the Horned Frogs beat Kansas in what should be a great close game.
Yeah, that's a great game. I'm interested to see that one for sure. And then at noon on Big Ten Network, we have 3-2 Purdue at Maryland, who's 4-1. Both teams looked evenly matched stats-wise if you look at their average stats right now. ESPN's matchup predictor has Maryland's chances of winning at about 68%. I think I'm going to go against the grain and pick Purdue in this one. I think they can build on their strong showing against the Golden Gophers. I'd like them to stop the run against Maryland and make enough big plays to get another solid Big Ten win.
And then at 3:30 on Fox, we have 4-1 Utah at 5-0 UCLA. The Utah Utes are a 3.5-point favorite right now. Since Utah's heartbreaking loss to Florida in Week 1, they have strung 4 games wins in a row. Utah has won 5 straight in this series. If Utah wants to get back into the college football playoff discussion, Aaron, they're going to need to win out, including this huge Pac-12 showdown Saturday. UCLA's best win was last week against ranked Washington. Utah has played a tougher schedule and really hasn't been challenged since Florida. I'm going to take Utah. I think they go on the road and remind the college football world that they still have a really good team.
That's a good pick. I like that it's at 3:30, so I might be able to see some of this one. And then the 7:30 on Fox Pac-12 game, 4-1 Washington State at 5-0 USC. Washington State has played a tougher schedule thus far, knocking off ranked teams in Wisconsin and Oregon. USC will be tested in this one, but I like the Trojans to get the dub, led by their high-powered offense.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet too, Aaron. So in the last game we're going to pick is at 7:30 on NBC Peacock. 4-1 BYU at 2-2 Notre Dame. The Irish are a 3-point favorite. This is a huge game for both programs. Notre Dame should be fresh coming off their bye week. The Irish offense has been playing better of late. Notre Dame should be favored in the Shamrock Series matchup of 2 independent teams. Sometimes I worry about when teams play after a bye week having a slow start. Maybe Notre Dame does have a slow start, which keeps the BYU the Cougars in this game. But I think in the fourth quarter, Notre Dame kind of wakes up and makes the plays they need to win a tough, close game against a very solid BYU Cougar team.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think Notre Dame hopefully gets a win here.
Big news today, as of this recording on Sunday, just came out. Wisconsin fires their head coach Paul Chryst after a 2-3 start. Now Chryst finishes his career at his alma mater, 67 wins to just 26 losses in his 7+ seasons. He won 10 games or more in 4 of his first 5 seasons with the Badgers, winning a Cotton Bowl and Orange Bowl and 3 Big Ten West Division titles. Wisconsin will owe him $16.4 million if he's fired without cause, although they could settle on that and negotiate. Leonard, a 3-time All-American defensive back at the school, he was actually a walk-on, he returned to Wisconsin as an assistant back in 2016, took over as the defensive coordinator the following year in 2017. He's long been viewed as a potential predecessor to Christ and is expected to be a candidate for the permanent job. So again, Wisconsin fires their head coach, Paul Chryst.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising.
Yeah, I mean, for as successful he's been, it just shows you how passionate the fan base is in Wisconsin when you go 2-3. Now, granted, he also had a poor year the previous year as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's move on to our 4th topic, NFL headlines, starting with the Indianapolis Colts. 3 costly turnovers hurt the Colts as they lost 24-17 to Tennessee. Tennessee held Indy's running game in check all game and forced the Colts to be pretty much a one-dimensional passing team. The Colts defense allowed 127 yards rushing. Ryan Tannehill threw for 2 touchdowns, and Derrick Henry had a rushing touchdown as well. So another disappointing loss for the Indianapolis Colts.
Quite a few expectations for this team. Hopefully they can turn it around. Bears had 3 turnovers and 0 touchdowns in their game against the Giants. Tough to beat any team with those stats. The Bears had chances to win, but the Giants were able to get a strong game from Saquon Barkley. He rushed it 31 times and had 146 yards. Daniel Jones had the only touchdowns in the game, and it came from his legs on a couple touchdown runs. The Bears forced the Giants to punt just before the 2-minute warning in the 4th quarter, but rookie receiver Jones muffed the punt. The Giants would recover, and then they would also have their little miscue by missing a 37-yard field goal. The Bears tried a bunch of laterals on the following possession, but eventually the Giants recovered the ball as time expired. So not a good game for the Bears as well.
You know, I actually watched most of this game. When you have a running back as talented as Saquon Barkley, the play action game is so lethal. And the Bears the whole afternoon had a difficult time with the play action pass and with the quarterback, Daniel Jones, rolling it out and leaking out and getting those rushing yards as well. So Saquon actually played quarterback for a little bit when Tyron Taylor actually got knocked out of the game for a little bit. So QB1 and QB2 were both out, and so QB3, well, Saquon Barkley, like, he can do it all.
Yeah, that was funny to see that.
Other NFL headlines: Minnesota beats New Orleans 28-25 in London. Now next week they have another game in London. Different teams, however. The Vikings are now 3-1 on the season.
And Jalen Hurts leads the Eagles as they continue to impress. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 29-21 to remain unbeaten.
Lamar Jackson threw a costly interception late in the 4th quarter. The Bills had a huge comeback in this game as they scored 20 unanswered points and kicked a field goal as time expired to win this game 23-20. Big win for the Buffalo Bills.
Green Bay beats New England 27-24 in overtime.
Big win for the Packers there. Let's look at the biggest can't-miss games for the following weekend here, or the following week for the NFL. Thursday night game, you have 1-2-1 Indianapolis Colts at the 2-2 Denver Broncos. This is an 8:15 game on Prime Video. This is a matchup between Matt Ryan, the veteran, and Russell Wilson. The Colts are in a must-win situation now if they want to have any sort of chance at the playoffs here. It's going to be a tough game, Aaron.
Yeah, it's always tough to go to Mile High. Other big games on Sunday is at 9:30 in London. We have the 3-1 New York Giants facing off against the 3-1 Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers should have the upper hand. The Giants can run the ball, but throwing is a challenge. And then 1 o'clock on Fox, we have the 2-2 Chicago Bears at 3-1 Minnesota Vikings. Big divisional game. Kirk Cousins is playing well. The Bears will need to find a passing game, as Minnesota will key on stopping the run in this one.
And then at 4:25 on Fox, the 3-1 Dallas Cowboys will play at the 2-1 LA Rams. Now, they do play Monday Night Football, so at the time of this recording, they are still 2-1. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and company look to take down America's team. Now, Dak Prescott will be a game-time decision. Recent reports say that he is hoping to start against the Rams. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will talk about Major League Baseball.
If you are enjoying our podcast and want to donate, please find the donation link in our show notes. Any donation, no matter how small, will make a big difference in helping us bring you better quality podcast shows.
Welcome back to the Will and Aaron Show, where we talk about local college and pro sports. We're going to take a look at the Major League Baseball playoff picture as of right now. We have divisional champions in the AL East, Yankees, AL Central, the Guardians, AL West, Astros, NL Central, the Cardinals, NL West, the Dodgers. And the only division left to crown its champion is the NL East, and that is between the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves. Actually, at the time of this recording, the Braves and the Mets are playing on Sunday Night Football on ESPN, and they're in the top of the fourth inning with the Braves up 4-3 in Atlanta. This feels like playoff baseball right now already, and we're not even in playoff baseball. So, great contest for both of these squads to see who will be crowned the division champion. So the Braves face the Miami Marlins in their last series of the season. The Mets face the Washington team, and I don't know. It might come down to that last game of the regular season. I kind of hope it does. It would be a neat game to watch to see who wins that division. Wild card race. The American League is all settled. Okay, you have Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Seattle all in the playoffs for the wild card. And in the National League, you have Atlanta, San Diego, and Philadelphia. The Brewers, at this time of this recording, are 2 games back with just 3 games remaining. So not looking good if you're Milwaukee. The Brewers, their final series is against Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Phillies go against the Houston Astros. So, maybe there might be a chance because, Astros are really good. However, you don't know I don't know if they're playing for anything right now, the Astros, so they might be potentially sitting out some of their stars, which would help out the Philadelphia Phillies. So that's going to be an interesting race to see if that goes down to the last game as well.
Yeah, playoff baseball around the corner. It should be fun to see how it shakes out. Just a quick update on Aaron Judge's chase for history. He tied Roger Maris's AL season home run record against the Blue Jays last Wednesday. If Judge wants to break the record, he'll have to come on the road in Texas as the Yankees play their final 4 games versus the Rangers to close out the regular season. It'll be interesting to see if the Rangers throw to Aaron Judge. Should be interesting to see if he can break the record. Thank you for listening to the Will and Aaron Show. Tune in next week as we continue to discuss more local college and pro sports.
Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcast. That helps us grow the show. Also, follow the Will and Aaron Show on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube for updates. You can find your podcast links in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Signing off from the Will and Aaron Show.